Good morning. The Douglas County Board of Commissioners special call meeting for August the 22nd, 2023 will come to order. We welcome you, and County Clerk, if you take the roll for the record, please.
Yes, sir. District 1 Commissioner Ricky Dobbs is absent. District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Madam Clerk, present.
District 3 Commissioner and Vice Chair Terenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Phil Miller.
I'm here. We have a public meeting hearing this morning regarding the 23 millage rate. Rosalind Miller is here this morning to present. After the presentation, we will open the public hearing. Rosalind?
Well, good morning. Yes, today I would like to present the proposed millage rate for tax year 2023. And in the presentation, I'll give a brief recap for the financial condition of the county. Just provide a budget allocation where the money goes, your tax digest history, your millage rate history, and then a property tax calculation. First is the recap of the financial position. The county has no debt, and that's outstanding. You don't find that in most local governments. That's no debt service being paid. The county also maintains a fund balance that's equivalent to 5 months of your expenditures, and that is great. And that's one of the reasons why you don't have to get a short-term loan, because you have enough that has been saved to cover the year until your taxes comes in. Also, you probably know, because we've talked about it often, about the reinvestment plan, about the CIP. You will be seeing the CIP hopefully the month of September, but it's going to acknowledge all the aging equipment and infrastructure within the county. And again, these 3 bullet points shows that with your leadership that you have made, I would say, hard decisions and very sound financial decisions to be able to have funding to create a CIP to take care of your aging, and also to maintain a 5 months of savings to cover your expenditures, and then no debt. Where the money goes. On the side, I've added the actual millage rate. So the what's being proposed is the 12.53 millage rate, and that's the same as last year. And so when you allocate it based off of the expenditures, so when we get that tax money, you have 4.2 mills that's going to general government. And general government is your HR, communications, finance, legal, purchasing, IT, elections, and of course BLC, and a few others. The next big portion of your millage rate is public safety, and 4.1 mills goes to your public safety. And of course, public safety includes your sheriff's office, EMA, and the coroner's office. Out of that 4.1 mills, the sheriff's office gets 97% of it, because the coroner's office and EMA their budget is pretty small, and the sheriff's budget is over 40 million. Then you have other small, like the judicial system is 1.9 mills. Your public works, which includes transportation and fleet, is 0.90 mills. You have your health and welfare at 0.386 mills, which is your senior services, CSB, and your health department. Parks and Rec is 0.90 mills, and planning and development, which is economic development, is 0.078 mil. And again, if you add that up, that totals your 12.53 mils. So if you subtract a mil, you're subtracting from this allocation. if you reduce your millage rate. The next is your 5-year summary of your tax digest. As you see that for 2023, your tax digest has increased, which is the value of all the properties. That's what the tax digest is, and it increased from 2022 to 2023 about 11.49%. The next slide is the millage rate. And as you can see, year 2020, year 2021, year 2022, and proposed year 2023, the millage rate has been 12.563. The next slide shows when you receive your tax bill, the county's, the county's portion is only 38.5% of that tax bill. The biggest portion of the tax bill is the school system at 61.42%. Again, proposed millage rate for the Board of Commissioners is 12.563 mills, and the school is at 20 mills, which is a total of 32.563 mills. Oops, excuse me. I thought I did that. The next is comparing a tax bill. If your property is, the fair market value is $250,000, and then you get your the 40% assessment reduced off of your fair market value, which makes your taxable, what's taxable is $100,000. And so if you look at the county of the proposed millage rate, it would be 1,256. And if you look at the school system at 1,899, your total bill would be $3,155, and that's at the same millage rate. If you look at your rollback rate, which is 12.256, your tax bill would be $3,125. And the difference is $30. And if you divide that by 12 months, it's $2.50 per month. What I didn't include is, you might have heard the HTRG, and it's the Homeowners Tax Relief Grant, and it's a one-time reduction in your assessed value on your property and on the bill. It's up to $18,000 you can receive, and it's separate from your homestead exemption. And you don't have to do anything to receive that. You'll also see that credit on your bill. So that my example will be a lot less because you'll have that grant. So the next is the proposed millage rate, the calculation. So the 12.563 will provide $84.0 million. And then we have non-property taxes, which is your charges for services, for juvenile, for Parks and Rec, and your judicial service bringing in revenue. So the total amount of revenue would be $130 million. And your 2023 budget, which this millage rate is to fund your 2023 budget, which is 124.9 million. And you have, your revenue is more than your expenses, so therefore you'll have a net increase to your fund balance of 5.6 million. And again, this is the proposed. So our timeline and the steps of this millage rate. So we have 2 public hearings today, this one of course, and then we have another one at 6 p.m. which would be in the same location. We have a second a third public hearing, which is Wednesday, August the 30th at 10 a.m., and it's also located here. And then on August the 30th, following the public hearing, you have the adoption of your 2023 millage rate. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Thank you very much. We will now open the public hearing to hear from our citizens. County Clerk, do we have anybody sign in?
Yes, sir, we did. Before I call the names, though, I will ask you to, when you reach the podium, if you could restate your name, address, and subject matter for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. Once you've reached those 3 minutes, we'll just ask you to wrap up your comment. And also, when you approach the podium, please feel free to adjust the mic and speak directly into it. The first individual who signed in is Miss Linda Kripe.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. So I can get this adjusted for me. My name is Linda Kripe, and I live on Dorset Bridge in Douglasville. First and foremost, I am definitely against any millage rate increases, and I definitely would like for the Commissioners to consider a decrease. And I understand that, forgive me, but all of the things that we're spending money on is just capped up into general this and general that. One of the concerns that I have is the spending. Let's take a couple of trips recently that I have noticed on expense reports. Trip to Austin, Texas, where we paid for not just one commissioner, but a commissioner's aide, totaling around close to $5,000 for that trip. How about we start cutting spending on some of those kind of things? I know that if I was working for a company and my company was over budget, they'd start cutting travel. That would be one of the first things that they would want to cut. They would also start looking at some of the other things that they're spending money on, like dining out and paying for frivolous meals here and parties there and that sort of thing. So if I was working for a company and I spent money like this, the company would be bankrupt. If I ran a household like the BOC runs our county, I would be bankrupt as well too. Instead, why don't we make the commissioners and the judicial person in the county pay back some of the things that they spent money on that were not really legally allowed or approved. Then we should also never pay for a person's insurance on our county dime as well too, especially when that person makes over $250,000 a year, but apparently we are paying for that person's personal insurance as well. Our property taxes in 2020 went up more than 27%. I know plenty of citizens in this county that couldn't afford that and ended up having to sell. And I know that some people in this county think that they sold because of the increased values and this, that, and the other, and they recapped on the value and everything else. That's not completely true. People were selling because they couldn't afford the property taxes, and now we have, you know, our current state of the economy. People are going to start exiting this county, and we don't want that. Businesses are going to start exiting this county because people can't spend money. So I'd like for the Board of Commissioners to consider a rollback and cutting back on our taxes and cutting back on spending. We've got a lot of things that are coming out, and I know that we have a lot of things that we could be cutting back on. And if we took every single dime in this county and spent 1 penny less on certain things, I'm sure that there would be some savings somewhere. So I'm encouraging the commissioners to at least relook at the budget, but take a look at every single dollar that's being spent, because we can't afford another increase, and citizens are hurting. People are making decisions on property taxes or meals, and that's really scary. I know that citizens are broke, and I know that there are some citizens that are living paycheck to paycheck or on fixed incomes that just simply can't afford it. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next citizen is Mr. Eddie Campbell.
Good morning.
I'm Edward Campbell. I live at 3456 Riley Road, Douglasville, Georgia. The reason I'm here today is because my taxes have doubled. and it's gonna put a bearing on me retiring. And, my house, a section of it was built in the 40s, other section was built in the 70s. They're basing they're increasing my value at is the surrounding properties that are being sold. Well, the houses around me are a heck of a lot newer than what I owned. So therefore, I just want to come say my piece and let you all know I disagree with my taxes doubling. I did appeal the case. It did drop a little bit, but it wasn't to my, So I've said my piece. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Glenda Sanders.
I'm Glenda Sanders. I live on Skyview Drive in Lithia Springs. I've been there for 50 years, over 50 years. And I've seen things happening in the county that is very disturbing. We need people to take a look at the county, see what's going on, other than just, thinking about how we can spend money. I'm retired and I'm older, and I don't pay school tax, but every year that my tax goes up, so does everyone else's. We get no income increase, so therefore, we'd like to keep our expenses down as much as we can. And I am in perfect agreement with everything Linda said. There's a lot of things that need to be cut out in this county, and I swore I wasn't going to say this. But, and I know I'll be criticized for it by some, but to hire assistants, part-time assistants for part-time employees is ridiculous. I understand the part-time employees make more than full-time employees here in the county. I've been up here many times and I have not seen commissioners doing a job. I feel like that if you can't do the job on your own, then you should not be running for the position. So please consider keeping our taxes down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We did not have any other sign in, but I would like to extend the invitation if there's anyone else in the audience that would like to speak. You may come up now.
Good morning.
Hello. My name's Eileen Roberts, and I live on Post Road in Winston. I'd like to speak, this is actually on behalf of my daughter because she has kids in school, and she constantly complains to me about getting requests for raising money in the school. I mean, everything. She gets bombarded with requests for fundraising. It's all fundraising, fundraising. My grandson plays football, and they actually ask for donations for Gatorade powder. Now, I look at the school tax and how much is paid. Why in the world are we asking these families? And they're from a middle-class family. Like, they can afford it, but it's just constantly asking for fundraising. And I'm just feeling for the parents that don't have a nice income. How in the world are they able to cover that? And you can't supply Gatorade powder to these football players that you're sponsoring a sports team for. Where are those tax dollars going for the school tax? Is there a place that I can go to see a breakdown of what is spent in the school with those school taxes that you're collecting? Is there a place?
I think you need to take that up with the Board of Education. We have no control over
You have
what-
no control? Okay, so that's what I'll
Over what the
do.
board spends, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
They're
But-
their own government.
Okay, all right. And then some of the roads in this county, need repair, especially the interstate. I'm looking at the interstate. I have to dodge holes and ruts and everything on that. I don't know, I mean, if that's in the general or the safety, I don't know where those dollars fall, but that's another concern. And I've been here 4 years, and, you know, I would like to see the county grow and get better instead of getting worse, because I'd like to stay here. But, you know, if it keeps going the way it's going, then I might consider moving. But I'd like to stay. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
My name is Kevin Lung. I live in 3519 Beaumont Road. I just have a general question. I think Brian Kemp, he mentioned that there was like a surplus from the state, and then he said he was going to extend, if he was going to get elected, which he got elected, that the homeowners was going to get $750 deducted off their property bill. It will be a one-time deal, and with the bill that I received, is not reflected on this corrected notice. Is that correct? Or that's going to be deducted later on, or it's not going to even happen? Do we know?
Vice Chair.
So that's an assessment. It's not your final bill.
Right.
So we don't know how much Governor Kemp is going to give, but it will be something off of your bill. But that comes from the state.
But he did mention $750 exactly for homeowners. So that's what he says. So the bill I got,
It's just a preliminary assessment.
it's just a preliminary,
Yeah.
so I should get a deduction from it probably.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that because I'm not on the
I
governor's
understand.
team.
You're not
but-
Brian Kemp. I understand.
Okay.
The second question is, I don't know if I should voice this, and I don't know if this is the proper thing. I've been Douglasville since 2002, and I have no kids, and I'm always paying the Douglasville property taxes, so I'm always a law-abiding citizen. I always pay. So last year I turned 62. So supposedly I should be eligible for the tax status under 62-year-old. So I did my taxes, I finished it in March, and then when I went to the tax office to apply for the 62-year-old status, they say, oh, sorry, you missed it by 3 days. So am I gonna get penalized again? And I keep on paying for the school all the time, and I'm the one that is paying for people. And now that I'm eligible, now they say, nope, you don't get anything. So is there anything I can do? I mean, I'm willing to pay my fair share, and I know everything is expensive, and I know my property taxes the past few years has been increasing by over 22 or 23% or so. As they were saying, we love to stay in Douglasville. I love Douglasville, but if the prices keep on going up, I don't know how people are gonna afford it. People's gonna have to start recalculating to survive. That's all. So my question is there anything I can do as far as 62-year-old status, that the fact that when I applied, I was like 3 days late, and that was back in like April 3rd or 4th, and the tax notice doesn't come out until like November, so that should be plenty of time to make an adjustment. So do I have any recourse? Could I go to the tax office, and do I need to talk to the property tax person?
Yes.
Chances are they're gonna say, probably, but it's just, it's rules are rules, right? All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mary Jordan. I live on South County Line Road, Lee Road, where all the construction and new construction is going on around there. So, my question to you is, can my taxes stay down because we getting this new development? It's gonna make them go up. Is that correct?
Is it gonna make your taxes go up?
Yes, because we get new development, we get new homes. They saying they're running $400,000.
Well, at some point in time, your taxes ought to, that's gonna add to the county's coffers. So, I think, that it should stay the same or go down. I don't think it should go up. But, the problem as I see it is the assessors are assessing our houses, I think, way too high. And that's just my opinion. They assessed my house $186,000 more for this year than last year. I think that's unreasonable, and I'd like to sell it to them for what they, what they're charging. But the more growth that we have, depending on what kind of growth it is, it should at some point in time add to the coffers of Douglas County.
Okay, so like I say, it's gonna go up then, because if I got a $400,000 house and my house is on the value at $200,000,
If the assessors raise your value, then your taxes are gonna go up unless the millage rate is cut back to where it would equal out.
okay. All right. So, and another thing is, y'all don't have nothing to do with the warehouses that's being built every time you look around, the warehouse is being built.
Yeah, we approve those.
Why? We need more homes, we don't need more warehouses.
I don't disagree with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens that would like to speak this morning? No one else, sir.
Is there any discussion from the board?
Chairman, can you close the public hearing first?
Is there any discussion from the board? Huh? Okay, the public meeting is closed. Hearing is closed.
Now we can have discussion from the board.
Is there any discussion from the board?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, I'll be quick because we got to do this again tonight. But of course, you know, I really believe in the First Amendment. And I appreciate the public hearing process. I've watched it over time, and it's always great to hear the citizens. I had an HOA boot camp this weekend. I had about my eighth annual, about 45 people were in person, notwithstanding staff. About 600-700 online, and I appreciate their coming. And this is one of the topics. I mean, it's always about the home. That's where it is. Now, I appreciate the comments. I appreciate your competence in being able to do what I do blind and do it well, and I don't miss. But I appreciate it because I advocate for the citizens. It's not about me. It's not about what I look like, what I can and cannot say. It's to give voice to the residents of District 2. Now, let me move on. Let me address this real quick. So, Rosalind, come on back up here because we get out a couple questions I want to clarify before we get to the vote. So, we want to talk about these numbers. So, the current budget, you say we got 5 months of cash. We are paying as we go. We have no long-term debt, no short-term, no long-term. I want to make sure citizens understand what you say by way of, we are about my size. Solid, thin, what? No excess fat. What you gonna cut, an artery? What you gonna cut, some bone? Talk to us about this cash, please. How much cash is that 5 months translated in? What is my fund balance as of the mid-year retreat last 2 weeks ago?
50 million.
50 million cash. All right, since y'all talk about historical, I come in 1990. Yes, we know the population has doubled since then from 70,000 to 140. Got it. You got this infrastructure sitting here. We got to pay for it. Got it. We got staff. We got to pay for it. Got it. But I get your property taxes. You know, as I talked this weekend, it's a balancing act. We got cash. All right, so now I've got that. Think about it, guys. We riding this thing with no debt. Do you know how excellent that is? All right, so the question is our values up too much? And that's a good question. I've always historically said that they were too low because we hooked up our friends over time. You did not do what we're supposed to be doing in the tax office. we looked at the roads back in 16 when we took over, and we had to right size this both commercially. You were doing it by hand. You were misleading. It was a delusion about the real values. So now we got a system in place. Now we correcting it. Now it's like, Mr. Chair, I don't disagree. Nothing bounced. So now we got to, all right, is the numbers right? So Rosalind, I know you can't speak for this, but I need you to still give us a public hearing. Are the numbers right? Are the commercial and the residential numbers accurate from the tax assessor? It's yes or no?
Yes, per the tax assessor, the numbers are correct.
Okay, so the question becomes, last question I'm gonna get out. Regarding the millage rate and new growth, you said it grew 11%. Does that include my new growth, or is that total growth?
That's total growth.
All right, what was new growth, please, this year? Roughly?
Yeah, I think it was like 2.5%.
So 2.5, not bad for, that's your new growth coming in. And the rest is what, inflationary?
That is correct.
That's what the tax assessor, they put on top of, guys. So growth, new growth, I always say set the budget based on new growth. 2.5%. It's 11. That means you got what, 8.5 points from
Yes.
inflationary?
Yes.
Woo! I get it. And so I gotta reflect to my peers like, okay, guys, we sitting on a lot of cash, but we got big needs out there. Last question is, how much discretionary we got? We got wages, we got operating capital, and you got discretionary. We used to be down to 5 pennies. How much we got left? What is it at right now? You said it in a retreat a couple weeks ago. I just want to say it again.
Are you talking about the unreserved? I believe it was 24 million.
Unreserved.
Yes.
And so you had like discretionary, what did Dr. Corbett say, about 6.5 pennies, 6.5%?
Yes.
Right. So that means that everything is obligated up to that 6.5%. And we're operating smooth, cash. We're not in debt, we're not leveraging. But the question is, should we give relief to the public? That's the elephant. Like, okay, y'all sitting on a lot of cash. We got a lot of needs to be done. So basically, if we lower this millage rate, that means that we're slowing future growth. Are we going to pay for this budget? It's already in motion. It's irrelevant. The question is, how much do we give the administration as a board of commissioners to work with in the future that says, okay, do I slow down growth by lowering this thing, recognizing I got expenses that's going to grow? You're slowing down future growth. That's simple for me. I just got to figure out what my peers are going to come in at. Based up, and that's a real question. Like, and this is where we have to be independent and free on how we think. Everybody got one vote. This is going to be interesting. What should we do? I yield the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vice Chair Carthen.
So, Rosalind, one of the questions I have is, we're paying for the 2023 budget. And does the budget that you talked about includes the amendments that Dr. Corbin is going to bring in September?
No.
Okay. So if that number does not include the amendments, right, then we are going to decrease the fund balance by more.
That is correct.
So that 5 million that we have to kind of play with right now, that 5 million is going to go down?
Most likely.
Okay. I think that's the hard part for me, right? Because I pay taxes here too, and I'm with you. I would love to sell my house at the price that they have me appraised for, but I don't think I will. I love Douglas County, but everybody is asking that we go up, but all of us are asking that we go back. Right, including me. Like I like to go back too. How do we maintain it? I think that for us as a board is what we struggle with. It just is the budget, the need, the request that we constantly get. Just like last week, we just gave the DA a $90,000 increase, and that was just for the staff she has on hand. She still has more staff that she has to go out and get in order to meet the need. There is a need probably in every department, and I know one of our biggest needs is the roads. I think a couple of citizens talked about roads, right? That is one of our biggest ticket items that we are having to look at for capital improvements. that number, whatever we have in there, although we have the cash in our hand, it's about to dwindle and dwindle quickly. And that's the thing that scares me, because when you roll back, you won't have what you need for the future. We'll pay for it now, we'll give a little relief now, right? But it's going to surmount. And that's what happened in 2020. Every year before 2020, the Board of Commissioners rolled back. Now, I as a citizen loved it, right? Because I got to keep a little. But then sitting on the board, I was like, oh, wait a minute. We're now having to go up. Okay, so what do? We cap our costs based on the amount of money we're bringing in. The revenue that we bring in, we cannot spend more than that. That was one of the physical policies that I put in place. Because as a person who loves business, right, I know that I cannot spend more than I make. So in doing that, we have to look at every single thing that we're doing and make sure that those who are coming to us for those requests are actually meeting the needs of the citizens that we, right, represent. And so that's one of the things that I think this board really has to look at. The sheriff's office, and I know you're a former sheriff, so you know the need within the sheriff's office, but that is a big ticket item, and we just gave them a 15% increase in the last 2 years. We're now having to look at, and rightfully so, look at increasing their salaries. Even though if we do it, for next year, we haven't even looked at the millage rate for next year to pay for that increase. So these are all the types of things that I think we as a Board of Commissioners have to look at, because safety is number one in priority. And yes, $40 million goes to the sheriff's office. We only have $50 million on hand to run a county, right? To run it in reserves. So all of these things we are thinking about. So I don't want the public to think, oh, they're just, they're all willy-nilly. They don't consider us. No, we do consider you, because we're a part of you. At the end of the day, we are a part of you. I get school board taxes. I can't wait till I get to 62, right? To not have to pay that. That is the biggest bulk of my bill, of my tax bill. That bottom number, the majority of that bottom number is the school board. I love our kids. I think they deserve every single thing that they get in terms of education, because I want them to stay here and keep this county going. But there are a lot of things that we have to consider. And if we amend the budget for this cycle, that number is going to go down, and we are going to have to keep that budget where it is going into 2024. A lot of decisions, a lot of things to consider. I yield, Chairman.
Any other comments? Just a couple. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office has 60 openings right now. The people that are leaving for jobs that are $58,000 and above. The jail has been shorthanded for 3 or 4 years, and it's starting to implode. And the reason it's starting to implode is that the people that are still there, the people that have been dedicated, they're working 6 and 7 days a week, and they're getting worn out. They don't have a family life anymore, so they're quitting and going somewhere else. So we've got to be competitive in the Atlanta market, and to do that, we've got to get the salaries up to somewhere around $58,000. That's a big hunk of this money that we're going to have extra from this year from last year. But we are trying. We would love to lower your taxes. When we set the millage rate, that's not etched in stone. We can go down, we just can't go up. So we're going to continue to work. I'm not promising you anything, because I don't know yet, and nor does anyone else setting up here, where we're going to wind up at when we finalize our budget. So even though we would like to cut the law enforcement budget, we can't. We've got to raise it. And public safety, this is a tough job, by the way, and it's not. I was going to come in here and straighten all the problems that Douglas County had out, and sometimes I think I am the problem. But we're working hard. We're interested in what you think. we're interested in the taxes that you pay, and we pay them too, and we don't want to pay them either. But we've got to run this county, and we've got to have enough money to balance the budget. So we'll get there. I don't know what that means, but we are looking. If there's a place to cut, we're going to cut, but we don't know yet. So I think that's where we're at. And you have anything, Commissioner?
I do, Chairman.
Chris?
You know, we've all pretty much well said the same thing. I think it's funny what Chairman just said, because when I took this position, I thought too, I'm going to get in there and by God, we're just going to cut taxes. But when you sit back and you start hearing of all the expenses, and too, like everyone else is dealing with the inflation, that inflation cost hits us as a county. So all those repairs we have to make, they're just as expensive as what you guys are having to pay out there. And Chairman was just talking about public safety. Our county really could use right now 3 more fire stations. We're running in fair play. We're going to have to relook at doing that building. We got some building going on down there, bringing in another 600 or so plus homes. That station's too small to service that area now. And I got to think about the citizens. I got to think about make sure that you're safe when you go home or when you lay your head down at night. Those buildings aren't cheap. We brought in what, Rosalind, from last year was able to put in a fund balance 7.1 million, am I correct? All right, 7.1 million. We're short 3 fire stations. How much was that station? How much is that costing us for that new state fire station? 9 million for 1 fire station. So that exceeds more than what we can bring in 1 year just in the revenue that we're able to put back in fund balance. This is a juggling act. Trust me, I know some of my commissioners have went through this many more times than I have, but it's something that definitely weighs on my mind ever since we've started this process of setting the millage rate, is how do we define this and balance it out to give relief to our citizens? Because I've received the phone calls from many of my constituents who are on a fixed income, and this is going to affect how they live and make certain decisions. There's that balancing act of, you know, your assessment's going up, and do we balance that, lower the millage rate to equal out to where your taxes do not increase? You know, it's just one of those decisions we're going to have to sit and think about and talk about and discuss. And like my peer said, we're just going to be fun to see where we not. It really ain't fun. I ain't gonna lie to that. There's this job, and I will state this publicly, that when I took this job, I thought it was a part-time position, but the only thing part-time about this position is its pay. My phone does not stop ringing all hours of the day, all hours at night. Constituents call all time. I get 50 plus emails a day and have to respond to those, or try my best to respond to those. This job takes a lot more than what a lot of people think. I don't see how somebody, unless you are able to own your own business, I have the privilege, such as Carthen and I, or some retired, I really don't see how someone could do this position. I really don't. But we're going to do our best. It's going to be a nice little brainstorming to get to this final end. But I just wanted to share that with our citizens so that you understand it's there are needs that we have for our county to keep our county safe, and there's things that we need, as Sheriff said, or Chairman said, to be competitive, to be able to maintain and retain employees. So with that, Chairman, I yield.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Robinson?
No. All right, real quick, this is just in response. I appreciate the comments, and again, I'm encouraged by the thoughtfulness that my peers are going to have. This is good. It's not. I actually believe they care. They actually care about the decision. That's refreshing. They've done this 14 times. To hear their thoughtfulness, like, welcome to the party. What will we do? Right. I mean, I'm at my HOA boot camp, and I'm at my listening post up at the Sear. All right, should I pay the sheriff deputies, yes or no? And the citizens will duh. Well, a duh is not a referendum question. The answer was yes or no. And they said yes. Like, I said, okay, do I pay them 55, 58, or 60? They said 60, Commissioner. I said, we're on the same page. They said, yes, Commissioner Robinson. Like, that's all they get paid? See, I don't know where you live, but I know where I live. I know how to relate to my citizens. I know how to hear their heart. Now, I ain't got no problem with taking that position. The administration will bring forth what they're going to do. I'm open to any one of those, pick a number, because I advocate for what my citizens, but they understand the impact. Taxes versus this expense. How we balancing? That's serious. Everybody ain't gonna get something on this round. Y'all talking about in this current budget cycle? So Roz, that was the question, that's my rebuttal. One more time, is that in this budget cycle, we're gonna amend the budget to try to consider some of these things that was talked about at the retreat that y'all haven't published yet? I guess y'all don't want nobody to see that retreat. I get it. Why haven't y'all published that retreat? Communication, we'll come back to that later, like, okay, well, I've never seen y'all suppress a video ever. Y'all posted quietly. Like, what was said during that 2-day retreat that they would not put that online? Stunning. All right, go ahead, answer my question, please.
Yes, that is correct. Capital improvements, it's over $5 million.
5 million. So we're gonna go
Of
from that's
requests.
where we're going from the 124 to 130, give or take, plus or minus. Got it. Ooh. Okay, and it's gonna cost me what, $3.7 million for this increase for what, $60,000 a year? Have you seen the numbers? I saw something, I heard something that to get to 60,000 is what, $3.1 million adjustment reoccurring? You gonna do right now? Ooh. I gotta see this map. I got to see this amendment. So when are y'all gonna put that forward? Because you're talking about it, but y'all haven't put considerations in front of us as we go into this amendment. So I need you to go back to the county administrator and make sure that I know he's listening. You cannot ask us to make this decision that you're gonna amend something, but you ain't showing me no numbers at the same time. We gotta do this. So between now, tonight, and next week, you have to show us these decisions. Don't give me a good story. Don't give my peers no story. Don't give them just talking points without numbers. Guys, they're gonna put this before y'all and y'all gonna make a decision, but you ain't really looking at the numbers, how they really impact us and what you're actually trading off. You gotta be that exacting with this. All right, thank you. We're good. Adios, sir.
Anyone else? We're so glad you came today, and we're just glad that we cheered you up, and we adjourn this meeting.